Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of the Digital Mittelstand. My name is John and I help small and medium businesses, so Mittelstand, to overcome their digital transformation challenges. Today, I have Jens Heitland with me. He is the owner of Heitland Innovation. He is a successful triathlete, entrepreneur, and father of one of the cutest girls in the world. So Jens, please introduce yourself.
Hello, thank you for having me in your show. It's a pleasure.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Who I am? My name is Jens Heitland. I'm the founder, CEO, and head coach of Heitland Innovation, which is an innovation coaching company founded and based in Germany. But I will start a little bit earlier. So I started way back on construction sites as electrician in Germany and got the possibility on a long way journey, which is about 24 years now, to grow
You look
up in.
younger.
Yeah, thank you. It's the triathlon. To grow up and develop myself to end up in responsibility for one of the largest companies in the world, and I was head of innovation for that company globally, and then switched 2 years ago into doing my own business and giving back. So really focusing on helping other companies to innovate, helping smaller companies to innovate, and that's what I'm doing now, day in, day out. So I was head of innovation for IKEA centers globally, moved back to Germany last summer due to personal reasons. So we're back in Germany. It's quite fun to see what has happened after we lived 6 years abroad, and it's quite interesting coming back. So that's a bit the professional side. On the private side, I'm a triathlete like you are, and that's how we met a couple of years back when we both lived in Moscow, Russia.
Yeah.
Father of a little cute girl, and yeah, living back in Germany and enjoying life.
Yeah. So almost a year late, but welcome back home.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. So, Jens, as an expert of innovation, and this episode's title is Innovation in Mittelstand. My
Yeah.
first question definitely will be how Mittelstand can apply innovation.
the the first thing is always getting started, starting to think how you can do things differently. And for me, I'm more into the business innovation, like not invention. I'm more into how can you build additional revenue streams, how can you grow your business in different ways and increase your reach and provide more value to your customers. So it's really, I work with three pillars. So one is like, how, what do you need to do as a leader to be able to do that? What do you need to do with your community, with your customers to be able to do that? And then it's basically how can you use your business in doing that? For me, it's about a system, and I think that's key for the Mittelstand in Germany as well. Using different perspectives, using inspiration, and driving that from a leadership perspective together with your customers, together with your community, as well together with your partners through your business. And so I always work with the holistic system to be able to do that, because only if you do it in a systematic way it will be long term successful.
Yeah, but do you train corporations, so or Mittelstand as well?
Yeah. So what I do is like I have merged leadership coaching with innovation practices, and I help companies and individuals inside of companies to innovate. So really looking into how you can do that on a daily basis. How do you build a team if there's a need for a team? How you can apply this way of thinking to improve your business. So it's all about improving your business and leveraging this to grow your business and being more successful. It's all about that. But I'm working with the individuals in the companies, and most of the time for me it's like the owner or the management of the company, because they have the possibility, starting with the leadership angle, to drive the other parts. So I always start with the leadership to be able to innovate and to be able to empower the organization.
I really like the way you apply to the innovation from the business perspective, because then that's not only self growth, but it's the business growth in the leadership
Absolutely.
perspective, right?
Yeah. So I mean, a leader inside an organization is his or her role is to drive the business forward, to sustain the business, and to improve it the whole time. And that's why I always start with leadership, because leadership for me, when you work with innovation, you need to empower. You need to empower your employees. You need to empower the people working together with you, and as well your customers and or clients, to innovate, because you will never be able to innovate alone, like a single person, a single leader, or a single employee. It's always like you need to get good ideas in, you need to make things faster, you need to be able to iterate and learn on your way. And that's the only, or the biggest possibility I always see, is that the leadership is thinking about that, how to do that in a systematic way. And that's why I always start with the leadership.
It's a interesting point to start, and I think this is a differentiator from Heitland Innovation. So at least as an outsider, I see as a differentiator, because a lot of leadership coaching starts with more soft skills, which I believe very important, but at the end of the
Absolutely,
day,
yeah.
it's not business oriented in a way that we see the outcomes. So you reverse engineered this process, taking the leadership to business aspect, as far as I understand. But can you give us a couple of real life examples of innovation in Mittelstand?
I mean, I was just the other day talking to a bakery. I mean, that's it's really small in my world. Like, hey, there's a local bakery, and the local bakery want to be number one in the local area. So it's the, what we did is basically we looked into what is your ecosystem, what are your different competitors, what are your different distributors, how is your value chain working, what are the different clients' perspective. Like they deliver, for example, to a Mensa for a school, they deliver for
Mhm.
bigger office buildings like bread rolls and all these kind of things. So we basically took this and looked into what is the challenge of the ecosystem. So what is the challenge all the different players in your ecosystem have. Like everyone has had like different, and I will not go too much into details because it's also I signed an NDA. So it's like everyone inside the local ecosystem has had challenges, and it can be like the delivery company, the school has challenges, the competitors has challenges, the company that's delivering the raw material to the bakery has challenges. And then we looked at it, what if we approach this with a win-win thinking? So how could you, as the owner of the bakery, look into the ecosystem with everyone who is in that ecosystem and think about, how about we're solving a challenge for everyone, rather than dominating the market with like making cheaper prices, looking into how can we build something that helps everyone. And then we work with the Industrie- and Handelskammer to look into that and how that could work. And they came up with an interesting idea using digital as well to build that going forward. And I think that's really a way of thinking which is not too often. And I see that quite often in the Mittelstand. And I don't work too much in Germany. I work more abroad right now. But I see that in the Mittelstand, in smaller companies, that it's often seen that digital is too expensive, innovation is too expensive. Let's stay to what we know. But I think it's now the digital opportunity is so easy. It's like having a podcast. Why shouldn't a Mittelstand not have a podcast? If I would have a company, I have a podcast. But if I would have a company which is inside of Germany having a Mittelstand, and let's say you're selling spare parts for cars, or you're producing spare parts for cars, I would do uh, a podcast. I will do a YouTube channel which helps to grow that, which helps people to understand this way of working and what you're doing and how you're providing value to the local community and all of this, like an engagement with your customers on a daily base. And I see that at least in Germany, that's not happening too often. There's
Yeah.
some really good, but it's like a lot of companies are not doing that at all.
Yeah. And very valid point. And I want to elaborate on the YouTube channel, for example. Even though there are some Mittelstand producers that they have YouTube channels, they push out videos. Hey, we achieved this. Hey, we did this. But it's more like TV ads. in the 90s. So
Yeah,
just bragging about themselves. However, what I see, and as you also gave in the bakery example, thinking in a way that how we can create value for everyone to win-win. So maybe customizing our content towards these wouldn't be a good
absolutely.
example.
Yeah, so taking that is a super good example. So if you are having a social channel, which you should have, and I believe you should be on all social channels if you have a company, that's no question. Um, it's all about your customers. It's all about your community, and it's how can you provide value to your local community. It's not about how can you take as much as possible money out of the local community. If you focus on giving and focus on providing value to your customers and to your community and to your partners, the money and the upside will come. It might take longer, but it will be more sustainable, and then you're basically building a fan base of people who are attracted to you as a company, which then helps again with future employees getting the right talent. So all of this is like, that's why I always talk about a system, because if you do this well, it's an investment into your business. And specifically now in the time where we are in, we're 2021 in January, we're in the second lockdown, at least in Germany. I mean, this is now the biggest opportunity you have in going digital and using digital as one of the accelerators of your business and moving that really, really fast. And their innovation is one of the possibilities which makes you learning that, because it will not be perfect from day one. So you need to start. So do you need to shorten the time from having an idea to getting it into the market to like one day? That's what I'm always challenging companies. And I worked in IKEA. We have managed to do things in one day and without any big budgets, like just super simple prototyping, but in a systematic way that you try and error and learn every day. And then you get bigger and faster. And often it is what I always work with, like earn money with what you're doing from day one. So you can invest the money back into your idea so that you kind of create a circle.
Yeah, that's a good example. But how do you relate innovation and digitalization?
For me, it's like both things are enabling each other. And the tricky thing right now is like both are kind of buzzwords. Like same with sustainability, a lot of people are using it and a lot of people are not understanding it. So for me, digitalization is one of the key needs of of a business, and needs of a business in a way that this is an enabler of you to be more successful. So if you're not working with digitalization, you will be left out in the future, and doesn't matter which business you have. It doesn't matter. So that's a no brainer. And and for me, innovation is just a mindset. So innovating for the purpose of innovating doesn't make sense at all. Innovation is a mindset, innovation is a behavior and a way of thinking. You need to bring like a culture into your organization that empowers your employees and empowers your business and partners and community to innovate, which means that helps you with digitalization, that helps you with your business and driving that forward. So it's for me, innovation is more a mindset, and digitalization is like a key need which you have to do. No question at all. So every company in Germany, Mittelstand, definitely needs to be digital. You need to have both. Even if you're 100% physical, like a factory, you should have a digital presence. You should look into digital, and not just for the processes inside your factory. Your marketing, everything needs to be digital.
Yeah, it's like, should we use a computer? Maybe 30 years ago or 40 years ago, that could be a question. Right
Uh,
now, it is by default, everybody uses computer. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And then I think if we add on on the digital part, it also means mobile first. It's like mobile phones is one of the most important things for people out there. So that's the window to the world. And if you're not present in the window to the world, then you're not there. So
yeah,
people will not know you. People will not know that you exist. People don't hear your story. So you're not existing. You might still be good from a revenue perspective, but are you still in 5 years? If others will step on the social media, and they will be, for example, if you take social media as an example, they will be on the window to the world. And Gary Vaynerchuk, one of the famous business people, is saying the phone is the television in the 50s. So the smartphone today is the television in the 50s,
Yeah.
where everyone was starting to look into how does television work and how can you use it from a commercial purpose. That's where the phone is. And that's where I think if you're not there yet, you need to hurry up to get there.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. As we don't question the computers today, we won't question the social media,
Absolutely.
at least in the next decade, so to say. But it might sound intimidating or complex that uh, digitalization, innovation, those topics as a concept. But let's go into innovation and what are the basic requirements for the Mittelstand to apply the innovation? Which roles they need, which teams they need, or do they need any?
Yeah. Generally, I say you don't need any, you need to have a mindset. And that starts with leadership. So let's give you an example. When I was worldwide responsible for innovation in IKEA centers, I was having 5 people, which is like one of the smallest departments in the global setting. But that was, if you take this into a local organization, let's say in Mittelstand in Germany, it's more, what do you want to achieve with it? So what's the purpose of having an innovation team which is focusing on something? So for me, it's more about how can you empower the whole organization to do something, and then there are specific reasons to have a specific team to do something else. So
Mhm.
for example, if you want to use innovation to develop your business going forward, it's like venturing into neighboring areas and adding new products. That's one perspective which should be inside your core business, because it's about developing your business going forward. But if you're, let's say, very successful and very experienced and it's like traditional, sometimes it's hard to change what you are. So if you will look into changing your business model, sometimes it's better to have something on the side which is like more startup way of thinking. And then it's really dependent of what you want to do and how you want to grow your business, because it's really the leadership is connecting all of that, and that's with that purpose you will then understand what is required to make that happen. And then it's sometimes as easy as just, hey, find a couple of people who are willing to jump in and do this on the side, and then let them be next to your business and grow something that's maybe taking over your core business in the long term. But it's basically experimenting new ways of thinking in completely crazy ways.
So even a single person can start innovating within the
Absolutely. I
company.
do it my I do it every day. So if you follow me anywhere on social media, I'm prototyping something every day. So that's one of course I mean, if I wouldn't do it, then I don't know what I should be teaching. But for me, it's like it need to be a behavior that you say, okay, how could we do this better? How could we do this in a different way? And that's how almost all companies started. If you look into entrepreneurship, like, you build your business and then you do this on a daily base when it's small, because you need to take decision. The customer is not happy, you take actions, you do this. But then you're 50 years old, 20 years old, and you're successful, then you don't do this anymore. You just kind of keep what you have. And then it's when it's going down, and that works for small companies, and it's the same happening for big huge companies around the world who are going down because they're getting too successful in a way that they're not iterating and not changing anymore.
Yeah. And actually, there are a lot of implications of lean management, for example, in Mittelstand for production especially. So this is
Mm,
something not new to them. And in lean management, they have this KVP, so
yeah.
continuous improvement process. And this is well-defined process to iterate and think about in improvement terms. However, this is not always applied to in a bigger perspective, as you said, from the leadership angle. Maybe a couple of employees are applying this, making their work a little bit better, but
Yeah.
how to take this already there, uh, let's say, lean approach and the KVP, for example, process, and apply it to a bigger scale in the company.
Yeah, it's basically nothing different if you look at it from a process management. It's more you need to find a process, a system that's working. That's why I'm there. I don't know how many innovation processes out there, and they're all fine, but they will not work if you're not taking a system approach. And I've done these mistakes when I was in IKEA. So we looked into, okay, this is the innovation process. What, like there's an innovation process which is called lean startup, or
Mhm.
which is described in a book that's called lean startup, and that works 100%. I 100% believe and have used it a couple of hundred times. It works. But if the setting doesn't work, if the leadership is not empowering the team to do it, if the community is not involved, like your customers, your partners are not involved, then it doesn't work. So if you just take a process out of the let's say production part and try to put it on top of everything, it doesn't work. So you always need to. That's why I always talk about these three pillars. If you're not taking the systematic approach of the totality, it will fail. And I've
Yeah,
seen it over and over and over again. It's the same. Like I like what gets measured gets done. This way of thinking. You need to measure innovation in a completely different way than you measure your business. Because if you measure it according to your business, then you have the challenge that you will always get dragged into your normal business. So you need to have an understanding what is, I call it like your innovation GPS, which helps you to stay on track. And that doesn't mean that you're not focusing on the business, but you need to measure it in a different way.
yeah. Alle mit Maß und Ziel.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. How do you measure innovation?
I mean, it's really dependent on the business where you're in. So sometimes depending, let's say if you want to focus more on the innovation culture inside an organization, sometimes it's like companies are measuring how many ideas from internal, like people inside the business, will be brought to life and will generate revenue. So I'm a big fan of measuring outcome metrics. So it's not like how much hours do you put in, it's more about what do you get out of it. So
Yeah.
if you look into innovation, there's, let's say you have an idea campaign in your company, and and then you look into how many of these ideas have been brought to life. That's one perspective. But then it's more, what is the percentage of revenue you get from new ideas over time.
Yeah.
So if you take your total year, what is the percentage of new ideas that's making your total turnover or your total revenue? And I think that's something you need to focus on to increase that if you want to be innovative, if you want to be seen innovative as well, and if you want to sustain a long-term successful company. It's always having that balance, and it's not 50-50. It's more you need to figure out what is the right percentage for your business, for your industry.
Thank you for this insight. I think it makes sense to measure the outcome. And I always say, Mittelstand doesn't care about the technology, they care about the outcome. And this was a
Absolutely.
great indicator of the innovation thinking goes into the same direction. My last question would be, what would be your top suggestion for Mittelstand owners, Mittelstand managers to apply right away?
Number one, start now. So it's really start doing it directly. If you have an idea, look into how can you make that happen as fast as possible, and don't worry that something is not working. If you communicate, hey, we're doing a prototype and we're doing this, all your customers will be fine with that, even if it's not perfect. But if you say, hey, that's a prototype, we're testing something, would you like to be part of that? And you use your customer base, there will be a lot of customers who would say, hey, that sounds interesting, I would love to try that, and they will pay for it even. So it's more about getting started is number one,
Yeah,
and as
I
fast as possible.
yeah, and I am making like one episode per, let's say, week, and majority of the suggestions start with just start doing, and
Absolutely.
that's very good to hear. That's very good to hear. Not because we think the same, but because only by doing you get the clarity of how the further down the road it will look like. And sometimes Mittelstand don't do anything because they don't know what to do. And
Yeah.
in this case,
But
as
that's,
you said, just do something.
yeah, and that's maybe an interesting perspective. We both are sports people. So if you're like triathlete or a runner or whatever, then you know that you need to do a lot to get better. And then it's like we discussed that like a month ago. It's like then you take a coach on board and the coach ramps you up like 10%,
Yeah,
20%. And that's what's quite funny when like working with other coaches, and I have a coach myself for my business. Like companies are not thinking about hiring coaches because they know everything themselves, or they rather take the big consultants who are very expensive to tell them what to do. But for me it's really like you need to empower yourself and your organization to be successful, not through an external consultancy which is saying you what to do. It's more about how can you empower your employees to innovate on a daily basis, and that's connected to that.
definitely. How people can find you?
I'm on all social media. So wherever you wherever you try to find me, it's always Jens Heitland. Um, the main business focus is of course LinkedIn. I'm as well a little bit on Xing, so you can find me on Xing
Yeah,
or on Facebook. Doesn't matter.
I will put both links in the description,
Yeah, and of
definitely.
course my website, which is heitlandinnovation.com. That's
Jens,
the easiest.
thank you for these valuable insights. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation.
Yes, thank you very much for your time.
Okay, ciao.
Cool. See you.